I fell asleep at the wheel going 60 miles an hour on the interstate. And that moment, it saved my life in more ways than one because what God showed me that day changed everything I thought I knew about faith and trust. So if you've ever felt stuck between, I got this, and God's got this, then this story is for you. Hey friend, I'm Kelsey Michelle, and I help Christian women rebuild their faith and find peace after hard seasons. And today, I want to share a story with you that I call the pendulum of trust. Because here's what nobody tells you about trusting God. It's not about sitting on the sidelines waiting for a miracle, and it's also not about white-knuckling your way through life alone. It's about finding that sacred space in the middle, and I learned that the hard way. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let me tell you about the day I almost died and finally learned how to live. So let me start by taking you back about 10 years. I was in my early 20s, was living in California, and I was done. Done with being known as one of the crazy Healy sisters, done with the weight of my past, done with feeling stuck, and I felt this pull, this calling to move to Middle Tennessee. Fresh start, new life. But there was one massive problem. I was drowning in credit card debt from an ex-boyfriend. Debt that had gone to collections, which meant I couldn't finance a car to drive cross-country, and I couldn't qualify for housing. So I felt trapped. So I told my grandma, and she said something that I'll never forget. She said, there's a learning lesson in everything you do. We can't be predestined to fail. And then she made me a deal. She said she'd pay off the debt if I promised to never get into a financial agreement with a man who wasn't my husband. Done. And just like that, everything started falling into place. I financed my first car, a little white 2009 Toyota Corolla. I got approved for a townhome in Tennessee. I packed up everything that I could fit in that new car, grabbed my cat Alice, and I drove across the country all by myself. And then when I got there, I felt alive, like I had finally done it. But here's where the story gets interesting. 2 months after I moved, I lost my job. Well, technically, I quit. The company I was working with was being acquired, and they wanted me to move back to California. And when I explained my situation, even after emailing the CEO directly, he basically said, sucks to suck. So I gave my 2 weeks, and they said, we don't even want your 2 weeks. You're done today. So that night, I sat on the floor of my empty office with a pizza, a little thing of whiskey, and Caleb playing in the background, and I cried. But here's what I didn't realize in that moment. I had stopped trusting God. See, when everything fell into place for that move, the car, the apartment, the fresh air, I started thinking, wow, I did that. I made this possible. Look at what I accomplished. Not God's provision, not His grace, not His blessing. And God knew it. He felt it. So He let me sit in that moment, broken and alone in Tennessee, and forced to face the truth that I had swung to one side of the pendulum. The side that says I can do this on my own. So I did what any desperate person does. I found a job through a recruiter, and I was like, thank you, God, you came through. Except the job was in Nashville, which at the time was an hour and 25 minutes away. Every single day, no remote work, contract to hire, so no benefits, no days off, and it was slowly killing me. But I kept telling myself, I'm trusting God, I'm trusting God, I'm giving up control. And then one morning, I fell asleep at the wheel on my way into work. I was driving completely exhausted, and I just dozed off. And I woke up immediately. I did roll back into my lane and just rolled the windows down. But in that moment, I realized something. I had swung to the other side of the pendulum, the side that says, well, God's got it, so I'll just sit here and wait for Him to fix it. See, I wasn't trusting God. I was waiting for a handout. I was sitting in misery, assuming that because I prayed about it, I didn't have to actually do anything about it. So that night I went home and I updated my resume. I put effort into it. I took ownership and I started sending it out. So a few weeks later, I got a call from a COO and he said, hey, your resume came across my desk. I'm not going to lie, it's a pretty rough resume. And I said, okay, well, which version did you get? There's a version 1 and a version 2. And he said, I think I have version 1. So this man is calling me about a resume I sent out months ago, right after I had lost my job, the worst version, and he says, I looked at this resume and I thought I at least have to give her a phone call. So we talked. I was honest about my situation. I told him about my leap of faith, the job loss, all of it. And at the end of the call, he said, quote, I'm going to take a chance on you because you can ask anyone. I have never made a bad hire. And I've been at that company for almost 10 years. So here is what I've learned. And this is what I want you to hear today. Trusting God is not an either or. It's not, I can do this on my own, or God will give me a handout. It's both. It's meeting Him in the middle. It's full-hearted trust in God and believing in why He gave us free will. If you are on the sidelines waiting for God to drop a miracle in your lap while you do nothing, you are missing it. And if you are out front building the career, the family, the life, thinking that you did it all, you are empty. Because here's the truth. You can have all the things from the outside and still feel hollow on the inside. Or you can have nothing and assume God's forgotten you. But when you meet Him in the middle and you trust Him and take the next step, that is where the breakthrough happens. So if you're watching this and you're stuck on either side of the pendulum, maybe you're exhausted from trying to control everything, or maybe you're waiting for God to move before you do. I want you to know you don't have to figure this out alone. If you are ready to find that sacred middle ground where you can trust God deeply and step forward with confidence, I would love to talk with you. I work with Christian women just like you who are rebuilding their faith, their peace, and their purpose after hard seasons. I offer free alignment calls where we can talk about where you are, where you want to be, and whether working together might be the right next step for you. This is no pressure, just a conversation for two women who love Jesus and want to see you walk in freedom. So if that sounds like something you need right now, click the link in the description to book your call. And thank you for being here, friend. I'm glad you watched this today, and I will catch you on the next one.